Yo, what's up guys? Nate here. Welcome back to another course here at Sonic Academy. This is the Bitwig Intermediate course now. We've done some intermediate courses for DAWs before. I decided to do something a little bit different for the Bitwig one, and we've pretty much entirely dedicated this whole course to an introduction to the grid. I feel that the grid is such an integral and unique part of Bitwig. It's also an incredible opportunity to kind of really stretch your knowledge and learn about stuff that's going on underneath the hood here. So if you don't know, the grid is essentially a modular environment. It's kind of inspired by stuff like Eurorack, but it's also way more flexible and way more intuitive to work with. And because it's so deeply intertwined with Bitwig as well, it presents you a number of opportunities to kind of do not only creative stuff that you would do like with a Eurorack modular system, but it's pretty fluid to build your own effects. It can do everything from sort of very simple tasks to radically complex systems that you can build with it. And yeah, so we're going to start this course off by looking at the three different flavors of the grid that you get, and it's basically note effects, the effects unit, and then the polygrid, which is the instrument environment that you can build stuff with. We're going to start off with the basics, just look at sort of basic operation, how you get around it, you know, what's going on with this, and then we're going to end up right at the end building something like this monstrosity that you see in front of us here, which looks incredibly complicated, but don't let it put you off. It's not as difficult as what it seems. I think some of the harder concepts to get around are things like the logic, but once you understand what's going on there, and I'll show you how to kind of talk your way through some of these things, it's actually not as difficult as what it seems. Cool, so get ready to dive in. We're going to get into the grid and start building stuff. I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers. Right guys, welcome back. Let's take a look at another synth. Maybe we'll learn a few different things from trying to copy this one. This is the Minimoog. It's such a classic design. It's been copied in so many different synths. This is the very basic original Minimoog, and there's one or two things that I want to show you here that are going to be useful down the line as well, like the idea of creating a feedback loop, which you can do in the filter here. We're going to look at a way that you can do that inside of Bitwig, because feedback loops are technically not possible, but there is a hack to get it to work. And then also want to just look at a way that you can kind of maybe mess around with some of the routing here as well. Again, this would be a means of using switches and things like that. So I'm going to just kind of fly through this one, because we've already done some of the basic synth work, and I want to just show you how quickly and easy it is to build something like this, just as an example. In this case, we're just going to look at this again. You've got three oscillators. So in terms of oscillators, in this case, I would probably just go with the standard ones. And if you want to change the waveforms, you can change them to a pulse if you need to. But we've got a sawtooth. We can duplicate those. Okay, so there we go, all done. These need to go into a mixer, obviously. We can bring in a filter. We're going to look for the low pass Moog ladder filter. These ones, let's just connect one of these first, and then we can take the second one, hold it here again, and just go Alt Mix. And our last one we can just connect manually to the mixer. Right, on the mixer over here, you see we've actually got 5 slots here. So we've got 3 of those are for the oscillators. One of them is for feedback, and then you also have filter drive over there. The drive is going to be this actually here. Additionally, we have a noise source, so once again we can just go and grab in a noise. Let's send our noise to this, and now we've got 5 slots here. We're going to need a 5th slot for our feedback loop. Right, so let's get this through our envelopes now as well. We need a VCA, so our envelope is going to go here. Let's also send that to the output. We need a secondary one, which is going to be our filter modulation. Now these are attack, decay, sustain. That's fine. We're just going to use these for this. You do have some different ones here. You've got attack. See, the pluck is not really going to give you. It's not really going to give you the same functionality, but maybe the AR would actually be a better option. But then you don't have a decay stage with that one, so or you don't have the sustain. we'll just stick with these, and this one needs to go to the filter inputs. The only thing that really modulates is the, I believe it is, yes. Okay, so we can actually just plug this one in rather than using a remote again. That's going to be how much you're going to modulate the filter by. I might not do everything 100% on this one. We'll just see how we go. Right, so we've got the basics down now. Maybe just bring in a level as well. We'll use a volume. There we go. And let's just set this back to mono again. Right, so we can play around with our filters, with our oscillators here. Turn down the noise for now. Really kind of sounds a bit mooggy. Let's maybe change that to a pulse. In actual fact, we'll save this as a triangle as well, and let's change this one to a pulse. And we can dial in now. Cool, so we've got the filter drive here as well. Okay. That's the basic operation done. Now, what I want to cover here is to look at the feedback loop quickly, and then also just to how we're going to use the modulation, because the modulation on the Moog doesn't come from an LFO. It comes from Oscillator 3, which you can switch on and off. Okay, so let's do the feedback loop first. So the way that you do a feedback loop inside of the grid is you should also always just put on a limiter just in case, but in this case it's probably not going to be a problem. We'll just do it for good practice, I guess. You can put it in the effects slot otherwise too, and maybe just bring that down. On the Minimoog, I actually have one here. This is the Voyager. On my Messenger, it's actually hardwired into the circuits. You can actually just dial up the feedback from there. This one, the means of doing that is there's actually a patch bay on the back of the synth, and you actually connect the output of the headphones to the input of the filter. There's an external input that comes in. So we're going to do pretty much the same thing here. In that case, you're taking from the headphone output, so you're taking it from after the amps. You take here, and you want that to go into this and be added to this. But you'll see, even if I hold down Control Add, it just kind of kills the connection. It will let me do that, but it won't let me connect that one. You could try this with other ones too. It's not going to let you do it. If you can use a merge for it, actually not merge, blend I think is the one that we're going to do here, and it won't work because there's a feedback loop. Can't let you do that. So the way that you hack around this is you're going to use something called the long delay. We're going to add a delay into this, and we're going to set it to the shortest possible time that we can. And now what we can do is we could take this in here, and you'll see it'll actually let us connect. So now we have our feedback loop. It's not 100% the same, but if you see that we start, can you hear there? That's just the feedback now. And let's drive this more so we get more volume through there. We could actually add in a gain here as well, or a shape. You could drive it a little bit more. Let's add more gain to it. So we'll just add in an additional gain module here. There you're getting that. Now you're starting to get that growl that you get from the Moog. Cool. Like I said, not exactly the same, but that is how you're going to do feedback loops, and you can do more interesting stuff with feedback loops than just that. You can actually use feedback as a control source as well when you're doing some more experimental stuff. I've seen guys even use feedback loops as a control sequence for a control signal for a sequence, or that will pitch notes and play you tunes back from feedback. So pretty interesting stuff that you can do, but that's how you do it. You want to do that with a long delay to get into the feedback. This would be the same when you're doing stuff that's cross-modulating. So if you were trying to do some sort of complex oscillator, for example, if you want to, say, modulate the two of these, which is what we're going to be doing here now as well. Let's say if you wanted to do FM to this one, so you want to FM the pitch of that, but we also want to do some cross modulation. So I want to send this one to the pitch of that one. Can't do it because now you've got the loop engaged. So once again, the way around that is to bring in the long delay module again, yeah, and we take this one out, we send this in, and now we have cross modulation. So let me just actually quickly show you what that sounds like as well. I'll send this to you, and let's just break that connection. We'll put that one in. Right, so now we got our two triangle waves here. We want to send this one to modulate the pitch of that one. So we can dial up the... There we've got FM now. So that's this one that's changing that. If we change the pitch of this one, for example, we get different FM happening. But we can now also modulate the modulator of that one because they are cross-modulating each other. So let's dial up the FM amount on this second one. You see the different stuff happening here too. So that's what you get from these feedback loops. Yeah, it's really interesting stuff that you could do with those if you're getting sort of really distorted sounds, or doing percussion stuff. Cross modulation like that is pretty interesting to do. Right, so let's just get back to our Minimoog that we have here. I'll just connect that one to there again. So we can do something similar now. We've got our feedback loop in there, but we want to just sort out this section here. We want to be able to send this to our other oscillators. So the filter modulation will send oscillator 3 to the filter cutoff. And the other option that you have is to send the oscillators to the oscillator modulation. So this is going to send to 1 and 2 pitch. So we need two options here, and then we've also got a mod amount, which is going to be how much, and then the mod mix. So the mod mix is going to be between the noise. So what we need to do is add a blend module here. We're going to send what's coming out of oscillator 3, so our triangle wave right now. We're also going to send the noise to that. So now we've got a means of dialing in between noise and the oscillator. This one is going to be going to the modulation, so we've got to send this one to both the filter and the oscillators. These are toggle switches, so what we can do here is to bring in toggle. We're probably going to need the single toggle there, so like a single in and out. Okay, so there we go. That'll kill the signal, that'll send the signal. So this one is going to be filter mod. This one's going to be pitch mod. That's the source, and we also needed an amount, so we're going to need an attenuator as well. We can stick that over there. Now you've got a means of controlling how much of that signal we're sending. This one goes to the filter. Now you see we already have our ADSR coming in there. We can add this, so we'll just hold down Control to merge those. So we're adding the ADSR and whatever is coming out of here to the filter modulation. And the pitch is going to go to both this one and this one. And we could set that up max, I guess. Maybe that's probably a little bit excessive, maybe, but it's fine. We'll leave it there. I don't know what the exact range of this is for the modulation, but we can also control how much of it comes in there. All right, so we've got... Let's take a listen to see if this is working. We want to send the Oscillator 3 output, and this one also has a range that you can push it down to a really low. And this switch that we have here is essentially going to turn off the pre-chord as well. So let's say we want to use this like an oscillator. We'll turn off the key tracking. We might actually want to just turn down the volume entirely, so we could turn that oscillator off. And let's lower the rate of that. So we've got like quite a slow LFO almost now. And we'll decide we want just Oscillator 3. We're going to set the amount and turn on the pitch. There you go. Now this is an oscillator, so it's audio rates. So you're essentially getting FM. Now it's not tracking, which is why it's so dissonant there. If we enable the tracking once again. That's pretty cool. Why don't we send that to the filter as well? Okay, so now we've got that going to the filter. And this one only has a single control, so unfortunately we'll have to decide one or the other. If you were doing this in the grid, I mean, you don't have to make this decision. It's just we copying this once again. So let's disable that. Let's take this into the filter modulation now. And to get this exactly right, we should actually put an attenuator for this outside before it goes in and have this always set to max. And then what you could do then is rather just add in attenuate to this. So this would be your envelope amount now. Okay, there you go. So now we've got... Now we've got filter modulation, which sounds nice and growly. Still adjust the envelopes, adjust the amount. Bring the pitch back in. I think these would probably be too much. I'm pretty good, like 36 or something like that. There we go. Now that doesn't sound too bad for a Moog emulation. Oh, what we did forget to do is to actually bring this amount into the mixer, yes, that you had control. But yeah, I mean this is the one that we had for. That is essentially our feedback, which we initially wanted to put on there. Feedback loop in, the drive. Yeah, there you go. And of course we can also blend that to the noise now as well. And use that as a modulation source too. Cool, and there you go. I pretty much replicated most of the functionality of this, and I think learned some valuable lessons along the way on how to sort of route things around a little bit here and how to do feedback loops. Cool, so we're going to stop there. Let's move on to some other stuff. I want to kind of get away from replicating vintage gear now. Maybe we'll start creating a few interesting effects inside of the grid, and also want to look at doing some sequencing stuff as well, because that, for me, in the grid is where it becomes really, really powerful as well. There's lots of interesting stuff that you can do. Cool. I will catch you in the next video. See you then. Cheers.